Welcome back to the Deep Dive. This is where we take on really complex source material and try to pull out the wisdom you can actually use.
And this time, you've handed us quite a challenge.
We have. It's chapter 4 of the Shrimad Bhagwat Gita. The title is Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga.
Or, the yoga of knowledge and the renunciation of action. It's a huge chapter.
It really is. If chapter 2 was sort of the initial shock to the system for Arjuna,
A wake-up call, yeah.
then chapter 4, this is the engineering blueprint. This is the how-to.
Exactly. Our mission here, based on what you've asked for, is to find the supreme and sacred secret that's tucked away inside it.
Which is what exactly?
It's the path, the way to act effectively with total intensity and focus, but without getting tangled up or, burned by the results.
That is such a critical mission for anyone in a high-stakes role.
Anyone at all, really.
I mean, if you've ever felt that anxiety that comes with performing your duty, your dharma,
Sure.
or that sting when a big project just doesn't work out the way you wanted, this chapter is positioned as the antidote. So this deep dive is our shortcut to getting there.
And I think we can anchor the whole conversation around 3 core principles. They're really the foundation of the whole chapter.
Okay, let's lay them out. Let's define them right up front.
So first, you have equanimity. The Sanskrit is samatva. It means keeping a completely balanced mind, whether you get success or failure, praise or blame.
Total inner stability.
Total stability. Second is selfless action, or nishkama karma. This is about doing your work with absolute dedication, but without that needy, selfish expectation for a reward.
And the third?
Faithful performance of one's own duty. Swadharma palan. Doing what you are fundamentally built to do and doing it sincerely.
Okay, so our whole journey today is to unpack how Krishna makes those 3 ideas real and accessible.
He uses philosophy, a bit of history, a lot of psychology. It's a masterclass.
Right. And he starts with history, which is interesting. He doesn't just jump into a lecture. He tells this cosmic origin story.
He does. He's establishing the lineage of this imperishable yoga. He tells Arjuna, I first taught this to the sun,
To Surya.
who then passed it to Manu, and Manu to King Ikshvaku. It's this ancient, almost mythic chain of knowledge.
So why start there? Why the sun? What's the function of that?
I think it's twofold. First, it's about establishing authority. He's saying, look, this isn't some new idea I just came up with. This is primordial law.
Okay, so it gives it weight.
It gives it immense weight. But the symbolism of the sun, of Surya, that's where the real teaching begins. It's a working metaphor for the whole chapter.
Because it perfectly illustrates those 3 principles you just laid out.
Exactly. I mean, think about the sun's dharma. It's duty. It gives light and warmth tirelessly.
Right. It doesn't take a day off?
It never decides, I'm a bit too tired to shine today. It's relentless, continuous action. And crucially, it gives without discrimination.
It shines on the good and the bad, the rich and the poor.
On the fertile field and the barren desert. That is perfect equanimity. It does its job without any attachment to the outcome.
So Krishna is framing this philosophy as being as fundamental to cosmic order as the sun's energy is to life on Earth.
And right after that, the text notes that this knowledge was passed down through royal sages, Rajarshis.
So rulers who are also wise, a combination of action and contemplation.
Right. But then it says the knowledge was lost on Earth over time. And that's the human elements. We forget. We get distracted. The ego gets in the way.
So there's this cycle of loss and rediscovery, which means Krishna has to step in.
He has to reteach the same eternal yoga. And this is where Arjuna, in a moment that is just so human and relatable, basically puts up his hand and says, hold on a second.
Wait a minute. I know you, Krishna. You were born,
Yeah.
not that long ago. How could you have possibly taught the sun who was there at the dawn of time?
It's the logical question to ask.
It's the perfect question.
Oh.
Because it forces the single most important revelation in the entire Gita. Krishna's reply just shatters Arjuna's whole perception of him.
He says, you and I have passed through many births, O Arjuna. I remember them all, you do not. And right there, that distinction changes everything. Krishna isn't just a man. He's this continuous ultimate consciousness.
And that launches us straight into the doctrine of the avatara, the incarnation.
Krishna reveals he's the unborn, the imperishable Lord of everything, and he manifests through his own divine power, his Yogamaya.
And the purpose of this manifestation, this incarnation, is made really explicit. It's not random.
Not at all. It's a cosmic correction mechanism. The divine comes down when, and this is the famous line, dharma declines and dharma rises.
To protect the good, destroy the wicked, and reestablish harmony, from age to age.
So incarnation isn't a punishment. It's the universe rebalancing itself through divine intervention.
And, this naturally brings up a huge philosophical question, which the Source actually tackles head on.
The omnipotent argument.
Exactly. The objection is, well, if God is infinite, formless, absolute, wouldn't taking a specific form, like a human body, limit him?
It's a very logical objection. How can the infinite be contained in the finite?
But the Source has a brilliant counter to this.
It's so elegant. It basically asks, if the Almighty can create the entire staggering universe with all its galaxies and laws of physics out of nothing,
Right.
is it really logical to then say that same Almighty can't take on a form when it's needed? To deny the power of incarnation is, weirdly, to place a limit on the infinite.
You're actually limiting God by saying what he can't do?
Precisely. The omnipotent can do anything, including making himself accessible to us.
I love that they address that because it bridges that gap between the purely abstract God, the Nirguna.
And the relatable, accessible, personal God, the Saguna.
It reconciles them.
It does. Before creation, the Supreme was the formless absolute. But after creation, that same absolute is in every atom, every single thing, visible and invisible.
So God is both.
God is both. To confine the infinite to just one aspect, form or formless, is our limitation, not God's.
And the chapter says that understanding this, that Krishna's birth and actions are divine, that understanding itself leads to liberation.
Yes, because it's a profound intellectual realization with spiritual consequences. It burns away the ignorance that makes us attached to the finite world.
Okay, so that sets the stage. We know who the teacher is. Now, Krishna pivots to the teaching itself, and he gives us verse 11, which is so powerful.
As men approach me, so do I respond to them. For in every way, people follow my path.
If all paths sincerely followed lead to the divine, then why go through all the trouble of this difficult, selfless action? Why not just pick an easier path?
Right, and this verse is often used to argue for a kind of spiritual anything goes, but that's not quite it.
It's not an endorsement of laxity.
No, it's an endorsement of sincerity. If you approach the divine seeking knowledge, you're guided toward knowledge. If you seek devotion, you're guided that way. Every sincere path is honored.
But there's a but. The very next verse makes a distinction. It talks about a lower path.
It does. It talks about those who are seeking quick material rewards, success, status, health, right now.
The tangible stuff.
The tangible stuff. So they worship other gods, minor deities, or they perform rituals that are designed to give them an immediate payoff.
And because human desire is so strong, it often works, at least for a little while.
It does. They get these quick, temporary results, which of course just reinforces their path of desire, of sensory pleasure. It keeps them in a loop.
The Source even connects these deities to the senses they govern, right? Like the sun god presiding over the eyes.
Exactly. So if your whole focus is on what you can see and get, then the energy that governs sight grants you those temporary wishes. But they are, by definition, fleeting.
They keep you tied to the material world, missing the deeper path that Krishna is offering, the one that leads to permanent inner peace.
You're still on a path, but it's the long, winding road through the land of attachment.
Okay, that makes sense. And that distinction leads us right into this. This very complex and often misunderstood concept of the fourfold order, the Varna.
Krishna says he created this order based on the divisions of inherent qualities, the gunas, and actions, the karmas.
This is a section that really needs to be handled with care because it's been so misinterpreted over time.
It absolutely has. The Source is very insistent on this point. This system is psychological and social. It is not a rigid birth-based spiritual hierarchy.
So it's describing types of people, temperaments that you find in any society at any time.
In all of humanity. It's all based on the blend of the three fundamental cosmic qualities, the gunas.
Okay, let's spend a minute on those gunas, because if you don't understand them, you can't understand your own swadharma, your own duty.
You can't. So first you have sattva. Sattva is all about purity, light, balance, wisdom.
The person dominated by sattva is the seeker.
The seeker of knowledge. These are the brahmanas. In our world, you'd think of the ethical scientist, the philosopher, the true spiritual guide, anyone driven by clarity and truth.
Then you have rajas.
Rajas is passion, activity, ambition, restlessness.
Those are the doers.
The doers.
Blinking.
The kshatriyas, the warriors, the leaders, the CEOs, the project managers. They are driven to achieve, to protect, to govern. They make things happen.
But that drive can also lead to turbulence.
Absolutely. Then finally, there's tamas.
Which is inertia, heaviness, darkness.
Right. The tamasic temperament belongs to the Shudras. those who perform the essential, foundational, often physical or repetitive labor. They provide the stability and support for society, but too much tamas leads to laziness and resistance to change.
And the last category, the Vaishyas, the merchants, the producers.
They need a dynamic balance of all three. They need the rajasic drive to produce and sell, the sattvic clarity for ethical business, and the tamasic endurance to just keep going.
So the key insight here is that we all have these qualities in us in different mixes, and that mix points to our natural way of acting in the world.
Yes. And just as we get that settled, Krishna drops this profound paradox on us. He says, though I created this whole system, know me, the imperishable Lord, as the non-doer.
The akarta. How can the architect of the whole system be a non-doer? That feels like a contradiction.
It's a massive philosophical leap. What he's saying is that he sets the universal laws in motion, the law of the gunas, the law of gravity, the law of cause and effect. But he is completely unattached to the results that play out.
So he doesn't have an ego invested in the outcome.
Zero ego. Think of a CEO. A CEO delegates, but they're still deeply attached to the quarterly profits. They take the credit, they feel the sting of failure.
Right.
Krishna is more like the universe's operating system.
Yeah.
He wrote the fundamental code. But he doesn't get happy or sad about any particular application that runs on it. The system just runs.
So actions don't bind him because he desires nothing from them.
Precisely. And that state of being the akarta is the ultimate model for our own liberation. When you truly understand this, you realize you can act the same way.
By emulating that divine detachment.
And that is the very definition of nishkama karma in practice.
So this leads us directly to the core problem. Krishna has told Arjuna to act, to do his duty. But then he immediately says that even the wise are confused about what action and inaction really are.
And this is where we have to get really precise with our definitions. This is the secret he promised to reveal. We have to understand karma, vikarma, and akarma.
Okay, let's nail these down.
So karma is right action, actions that are in harmony with nature and with scripture. Vikarma is the opposite, forbidden action, things that go against natural or divine law.
And a karma, that's just doing nothing right. Inaction.
That's the common mistake. It's often thought of as just total avoidance of external action, but that's not the secret. The secret is that the real nature of action is psychological, not physical.
And that brings us to the real mind bender, verse 18, seeing inaction in action and action in inaction.
This is the aha moment of the whole chapter.
Let's break it down. What does it mean to see inaction in action?
Okay, think of a master surgeon in the middle of a complex operation, or a world-class musician playing a concerto. They are performing incredibly intense, vigorous physical actions.
Absolutely. High-stakes action.
But because their minds are so focused, so free of the egoistic thought of, I am doing this for a reward, and they're acting from a place of pure skill and duty, the action just flows. Their mind is quiet.
So even though the body is in motion, the mind is in a state of stillness, of non-doership.
Exactly. And since karma, the thing that binds you, is generated by the mind's attachment, if the mind is unattached, the physical action creates no bondage. Spiritually, it's as if nothing happened. It is inaction.
Wow. Okay, so what about the reverse? Seeing action in action.
This is aimed at the person who thinks spirituality means just dropping out. The person who sits still maybe says they're retired or they've renounced the world.
But inside their mind is just churning.
Churning with plans, with regrets, with desires, with envy. That mental activity, that is an action. It's an action of the mind, and it generates karma. It binds him just as much, if not more, than physical work.
So liberation has nothing to do with what your body's doing. It's all about the state of your mind.
100%. The truly wise person, the pandita, is the one whose actions are free from that selfish desire and whose past actions, this is a key phrase, have been burnt by the fire of knowledge.
Let's unpack that. Burnt by the fire of knowledge. Are we talking about samskaras here? No. The mental impressions?
We are. Think of your samskaras as mental grooves or patterns created by your past actions and thoughts. Every time you act with ego, you deepen a groove, making that pattern of attachment stronger.
So the fire of knowledge is the realization of this principle of non-doership.
It is. That knowledge doesn't erase the memory of what you did, but it incinerates the binding power of those old patterns. It burns up the grooves.
The attachment is gone.
The attachment is gone. And so the person, even though they are busy in the world, does nothing at all. They are free.
Okay, but we have to be really clear about what this detachment looks like in practice, because it could easily sound like apathy, like not caring.
It's the opposite of apathy. Apathy is a tamasic quality, a form of inaction. Detachment is a sattvic quality. It looks like pure, focused, 100% effort.
But without these anxiety about the outcome.
Exactly. It's the absence of restlessness. The text says you perform your necessary actions work, eating, self-care, just to maintain the body, free from greed or craving.
So the balanced yogi is satisfied with whatever comes their way. They're balanced in success and failure.
Think about it in a modern context. You pour your heart and soul into a huge project at work. You give it everything. If it succeeds, great. You accept it with grace. If it fails, you analyze what went wrong, you learn, but you don't let it destroy your inner peace or your sense of self-worth.
Because your self-worth isn't tied to the result.
It's tied to the quality and sincerity of the action itself. That equanimity is the purifier.
This philosophy of action, it feels like it's setting the stage for a much more holistic view of duty. The Source talks about Dharma as something that nourishes every part of you.
It does. It outlines 5 specific areas of nourishment: the body, the senses, the mind, the intellect, and the soul. It's an incredibly practical framework.
We often focus on just 1 or 2 of those.
Right. We diet and exercise for the body, maybe read a book for the intellect. But the Source says you have to nourish all 5. For the body, it's right food, exercise, rest. For the senses, it's moderate use.
Not overindulgence, but not extreme repression either.
The middle path. Overindulgence weakens you. Too much repression just leads to obsession. For the mind, it's about fulfilling noble desires and letting go of the selfish, ignoble ones. For the intellect, it's the pursuit of knowledge.
And for the soul, what nourishes the soul?
The practice we've been talking about this whole time, equanimous, selfless duty, your swadharma.
And the Source has that beautiful Upanishadic metaphor to explain the soul's position, right?
Yes, the 2 birds on the tree. It's a perfect image. The Upanishads say the individual self and the supreme self are like 2 birds sitting on the same tree, which is the body.
One bird is busy eating the fruits of the tree.
That's us, the individual self. Experiencing pleasure and pain, success and failure, constantly tasting the results of our actions.
And the other bird?
The other bird, the supreme, just sits there. It simply witnesses. It observes the whole process with perfect detachment.
The text connects this witness to our own conscience.
It does. It says that when you do good, there is an inner voice that praises you. When you do wrong, it reproaches you. That voice is the witness. It's the voice of the divine within you, constantly reflecting the state of your soul.
So nourishing the soul means acting in a way that earns the praise of that inner witness.
And to maintain that alignment, the Source says, we have to perform yajna.
Sacrifice. Which, for a lot of people listening, probably conjures up images of ancient fire rituals.
And that was one form of it, sure. But here, Krishna expands the term dramatically. A yajna is any sincere spiritual discipline you undertake for self-purification. It's the intentional offering of something for a higher purpose.
And the ultimate state for a yogi is to see everything as a sacrifice.
That's the non-dual vision in verse 24. The person who sees the offering as Brahman, the act of offering as Brahman, the fire as Brahman, and the result as Brahman, that yogi sees Brahman in all.
If you're in that state of consciousness, sending an email can be an act of worship.
Everything becomes a spiritual discipline. The ego's claim of ownership just dissolves. And because different people have different temperaments, Krishna then gives a whole list of different kinds of yajna.
Right, let's go through some of those and maybe give some modern examples.
Okay, so you have the more traditional ones like Deva Yajna, which is worshiping gods or divine energies. Then there's the really philosophical one, Jnana Yajna.
The sacrifice of knowledge.
Right. This is where you sacrifice your own ego, your small self, into the fire of the Supreme through meditation and self-inquiry.
Then there are disciplines focused on control, especially over the senses.
This is all about restraint. One form is offering the senses into the fire of self-control. Another is offering the sense objects into the senses.
What does that mean?
It means consciously choosing what you consume with your senses. You use your eyes to see things that are beautiful and uplifting, not just junk. You use your ears to listen to wisdom, not gossip. You are sacrificing noise for clarity.
That's a very modern, applicable idea, like curating your social media feed.
Exactly. It's a form of yajna. Then you have the more technical yogic practices like pranayama, breath control, where you're sacrificing the involuntary, chaotic nature of your breath into the fire of conscious self-mastery.
And then there are the more practical, everyday disciplines.
Sure. Dravya yajna is sacrifice through wealth charity, philanthropy. Tapa yajna is austerity voluntarily taking on a discipline like fasting or a tough physical challenge. And then there's study, self-reflection. That's also a form of jnana yajna.
So anything done with sincere intention for self-purification counts.
That's the key. And Krishna gives a very stark warning about what happens if you don't engage in any of this.
He says, those who perform sacrifice attain the eternal, but for the one who doesn't.
For them, even this world is joyless. How then the next?
Wow. So it's not just about the afterlife. It's that a life without some form of self-discipline, of inner offering, is empty and hollow right here and now.
It lacks vitality. It lacks peace. External success alone will never fill that void.
All these forms of sacrifice are valuable paths to purification. But then Krishna elevates one above all the others.
We reach the absolute apex of the chapter here, the superiority of knowledge.
He says, better than the sacrifice of material things is the sacrifice of knowledge, for all actions culminate in knowledge.
This is a radical statement. It shifts the entire focus from doing external things to achieving an internal state of being.
So why is giving knowledge jnana yajna better than giving money dravya yajna?
Because a material gift is temporary. You can give a person a meal, and that's a noble act. It solves their hunger for today.
But if you give them knowledge,
If you teach them the truth of how to act without attachment, how to find inner peace, that knowledge can free them from suffering for the rest of their lives. Charity treats the symptom, knowledge cures the disease, and the disease is ignorance.
but this kind of profound knowledge, it's not something you can just pick up from a book, is it?
No. The text is very clear that you need right guidance. You have to approach the wise, the gurus, who haven't just read the truth but have realized it.
And there's a specific way to approach them.
A three-part approach. First, you bow to them, which signifies humility. You're emptying your cup. Second, you serve them, which shows your dedication and selflessness. And third, you ask them sincere questions.
So it's a combination of humility, action, and intellectual curiosity.
And the guru has to be both learned in scripture and realized in the self. Only that combination can truly transmit the wisdom.
And when you get that knowledge, what's the final result? What does it do to you?
It completely destroys delusion. It replaces your fragmented view of the world with a non-dual vision. First, you see all beings within yourself. You recognize that you share the same spirit.
You see the unity in everything.
And then you see all beings in the Supreme. You realize that this unified self is part of the cosmic whole. Competition and otherness just. They fall away.
And the power of this knowledge is described in such absolute terms. It can overcome anything.
This is one of the most hopeful messages in the entire text. He says, even if you are the greatest sinner of all sinners, you shall cross the ocean of sin by the raft of knowledge.
That's not a license to do bad things.
Not at all. It means that true self-knowledge is so radically purifying that it dissolves the binding power of your past actions. The guilt, the shame, the karmic weight, it's all consumed when your identity shifts from I am the doer, the sinner, to I am the eternal self.
And we're back to that fire analogy.
Always back to the fire. Just as a blazing fire turns wood to ash, the fire of knowledge burns away all those old mental patterns, all those samskaras, and especially that false sense of I am the doer.
And that knowledge dawns naturally in a mind that has been purified by all the selfless actions we've been talking about.
But it's not automatic. The text gives 3 prerequisites for that knowledge to fully take root and bring peace.
Okay, what are they?
First, control of the senses, the ability to focus your attention. Second, dedication to discipline, the persistence to stay on the path. And third, faith in the goal, a deep conviction that this is real and achievable.
And on the flip side, there's a dire warning about the great enemy of all this.
Doubt. Doubt is the great paralyzer. The text says the ignorant, the faithless, and the doubting soul perish.
Because if you're always second-guessing your path, your duty, yourself, you can never act with the sincerity needed for purification.
You're stuck. Krishna's warning is severe. For the doubting soul, there is neither this world nor the next, nor happiness.
Which brings us right back around to Arjuna, who started this whole conversation completely paralyzed by doubt and fear.
Exactly. Krishna has just handed him the entire intellectual and spiritual toolkit to overcome that paralysis.
He now knows that his duty as a warrior is his swadharma. And if he does it with equanimity and non-attachment, the action itself becomes liberating.
It becomes his ultimate act of sacrifice, his yaja.
So Krishna's final command of the chapter is the ultimate call to action.
It is. He says, use the sword of knowledge to cut asunder the doubt born of ignorance in your heart.
All the philosophy, all the history, it all leads to this one moment.
Establish yourself in karma yoga, this yoga of equanimous action, and arise, fight. It's the command to move from paralysis to empowered, selfless engagement with your life.
What a deep and profound journey into what it means to act freely in a world that is full of consequences. We've covered those three pillars: equanimity, selfless action, and one's own duty. We've explored that incredible paradox of the divine non-doer.
And we kept coming back to that powerful Upanishadic image, the two birds on the tree, one tasting the fruits, the other simply witnessing.
And we noted that the Source identifies that inner voice, the one that praises or reproaches us, as the voice of that witness, the divine within.
A voice that is constantly shaping the image of our soul through our actions. This isn't just theory, it's meant to be applied right now.
So, as you go forward from this deep dive, on your own journey of knowledge and action, keep that inner witness in mind. If that inner voice is the ultimate observer, the one shaping your divine image, what is your inner critique telling you about the actions you perform today?
Was the witness praising your detachment, your sincerity, your equanimity, or was it reproaching your attachment, your calculation, your restlessness? That right there is the measure of your yanya. And that's the question to mull over as you arise and engage with your world.